I'm Andrew Willett for A Pro Basketball Show. Follow and subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, as well as following on social media at APBShow on Twitter and Instagram. Be sure to follow me as well at TheACWillett22. Thank you so much for tuning in, and without further ado, hello and welcome to A Pro Basketball Show. I am so excited now to be welcoming into the show. That's Jesse Morrison. It's the first time he's been back since we talked about the Phoenix Mercury in the preseason. And again, I'm just so grateful. Most importantly, he does so much stuff. I mean, like, we're talking play-by-play, co-host, producing, writing. But yeah, most importantly for our purposes today, a Mercury reporter with the Next Hoops. And that's Jesse Morrison. Jesse, thank you so much for joining the show. How are you doing?
Good. A little tired from the past week, but I'm
I
here.
can't imagine why. As we'll get into all of that and kind of some bigger picture stuff with the Phoenix Mercury as well. But yeah, to say the least, some stuff has happened on the Mercury, and we're gonna go
Yeah.
back go back to Thursday, where it was supposed to be a very historic day. I mean, everyone's excited about what is coming later that night. And that morning, first and foremost, just want to say we hope Skylar Diggins-Smith is okay and that everything works out well enough for her and her mental health during this period. But she decided that she had some time on Thursday morning. And in doing so, she broke her silence, calling out the organization for mistreatment while during her pregnancy on maternity leave. And then later that night, Diana Taurasi scored her 10,000th career point. But yeah, Jesse, what has been going on in Phoenix? How are you managing all of this?
Well, the Skylar situation has been ongoing, since last season. Before I even covered the team, she left for personal reasons. Obviously, we found out that she was pregnant in October. She had her kid before the season, her second child, and she's just been out. When I ask about her, I get, not very much info. I get, a lot of like, she's on maternity leave, you know, and that's like the only thing I really get from anybody that I've asked, whether it's Jim Pittman or the GM or either head coach that they've had this season, and Vanessa Nygaard and Nikki Blue. And then when I asked Thursday whether or not Skylar is allowed back in allowed in the facility, again they did not confirm or deny that, and they just kind of focused on the game at hand. So that was there. That was on Thursday. That was interesting. But then you move on, and the game was incredible from Diana Taurasi. It was a game that she hasn't had in like 10 years. To be able to not only reach 10,000 points, but do it by and well surpass that mark that night by having 42 points, which was her regulation career high at 41 years old. That was just incredible. And they got it done in a win, which was good to see. I mean, it would have sucked if it wasn't in a win. But then on Saturday, you've got Shea Petty going down, last night with, one of the scarier injuries I've ever been present for at a sporting event. Just took a shot in the head, by Jordan Horston, and just collapsed and was down for a really long time before being stretchered off. I was not sure if they would continue the game, but as Nikki Blue said yesterday, she had some movement going back into the ambulance, so it was never really a thought to cancel the game or to not keep playing. So yeah, it's just been a whirlwind of a week. Um, a lot going on with Phoenix, and again, it on the court. There's While they won that game on Thursday, they're still 7-20 and in the bottom of the WNBA standings.
Yeah, just your normal week in covering the Phoenix Mercury. I mean, that this like out of character for any sports team that you can be covering, and it all happened within a few days. So let's go over a few of those things before we get into kind of the Mercury as a whole. But I want to start with Skylar Diggins-Smith and breaking the silence with a number of tweets where she said, they're not going to acknowledge me this year, and it's okay, guys. Saying, no, I can't use the practice facility, massage therapist, chiropractor, chefs, strength and conditioning, nutritionist, accessibility, etc. And she made sure to point out that every other player has access to. Also said, it was all good when I was leaving for personal time, but when I'm leaving because I'm having complications instead of risking my child, the question is then trade her. A few other things. Said I'm fine with being distanced because now I can't possibly be the villain anymore. Going on to call out an ESPN article that said Diggins-Smith didn't get along with anyone on the team, as the exact quote. So all of that, an uncomfortable story, and I guess I'm just asking you. You started to touch on, but could you outline like where things have gone wrong for this Phoenix Mercury team with the relationship with Skylar Diggins-Smith that it's just so far removed from where this team was in the 2021 WNBA Finals just a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's completely different. That team was honestly like a juggernaut. I mean, they had Brittany Griner playing at the top of her skill level. Skylar Diggins-Smith, same thing. Diana was playing well, and just to see where it's gone now with a completely. They've had two different coaches since then. Um, you know, the whole Brittany Griner situation last year was super unfortunate, obviously. And then this Skylar situation, which like I just don't know what to make of it because like number one, I do not believe that she doesn't get along with anyone on the team. That is, I just do not think that's true. Shea Petty tweeted about her birthday. Um, she's gotten likes on her posts from players on the team. I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
So, however, there's probably some players that she doesn't get along with. And I don't think she liked Vanessa Nygaard. That was pretty obvious in the tweet she had around All-Star game last year. So, yeah, it's just she's never playing for Phoenix again. That's that's fine to say. Like and this is not reporting, this is speculation, but like there's no chance. I mean, there's 13 games left in the season, and then she becomes a free agent. And with what she leveled on Thursday, there's just no chance she ever plays again for the Phoenix Mercury. Move kind of worked out, kind of didn't. I don't know what to believe. I
Yeah.
think that's up to other people's interpretations, and I'm gonna try to get to the bottom of it, but it's hard.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's a tough situation to say the least, and like, well, I'm always gonna be a pro player. I start to uh, like pro player, and especially a player leaving for pregnancy leave, maternity leave. I think like obviously the organization has to take care of her, and
Yeah,
and you're in a tricky spot with where we just don't know everything
yeah,
in terms of what's going on between those two.
yeah. Again, and I would like to reiterate that as well. Like
Yeah,
I'm pro player as well. Like,
fully,
if what she is saying is true, like that is not good.
and to be taken
And
seriously. Yeah,
to be taken seriously, yeah. But again, we don't know all the details. We don't know everything, so it's hard to really make jump to conclusions or whatever about this. But yeah, I mean, it's still, kind of a bad look for the Mercury for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's a fine place to leave it. Yeah, we both kind of reiterated like, hey, this is a lot we don't know, or we're pro player. We hope Skylar's doing okay. Um, do you and you said like probably not playing in Phoenix again. I think that's a very easy speculation to make. Um,
Yeah,
do you think
for
she
sure.
gets traded before the season's over?
No,
No.
because I just don't think there's going to be teams that have the salary room, from what I understand, to be able to trade for a player with that much salary. Um, so yeah, I don't see it happening. I don't think there's going to be a lot that goes down at the trade deadline, honestly. Unfortunately, I think it would be, I think it would be great if the league could figure out how to make their trade deadline a big deal during the season. And I think even players have talked about that, which is funny because, like, who wants to get traded really?
That's
Um, but like,
yeah, that is funny.
again, if you're looking on the men's side of the NBA, um, it's a huge deal. Like out here in Phoenix, when the Suns traded for Kevin Durant, like that was huge news that dominated Super Bowl week out here. So, and the Super Bowl was in town. So, you know, that kind of stuff just helps get your league attention. So, they've got to figure out some way to do that because, I've seen videos, Skylar posts herself playing, every now and then, and she looks like she's close to being back. I don't know for sure. Obviously, again, want to respect her process and getting back from having a child, but she looks good. And, as she stated, she's gotten back into shape and everything. So, it's unfortunate for her that this is kind of a lost season if she is able to play just because of how, you know, the salary cap works in the WNBA. They got a lot to figure out.
Yeah, that becomes more of a WNBA thing. That's a great point. I was just talking about this with Richard Cohen, the WNBA land, about a lot of his salary cap work and how, like, yeah, it'd be nice. The one place where he said that could be a possibility, just because of the cap room they have, is Indiana. But I don't know why they give up so much for just a few months before she's a free agent.
Yeah, and I
Maybe
don't see them making the playoffs and everything. I mean, I do think that that is a possible landing spot, you know,
long
um,
term, but maybe not.
long term for her because the Notre Dame connection, um, and Melissa Smith, Aaliyah Boston, Skylar Diggins-Smith, Kelsey Mitchell. If they can somehow keep all four of those players, that would be quite the team.
It's
That would
true.
go from bad team to contender right away, contender super team. So we'll see, but uh, yeah, maybe they make the deal and then try to keep her around long term after that. But again, that's a huge gamble. Who knows who they would have to give up in that trade? They'd probably have to trade Kelsey Mitchell, which wouldn't be probably the smart thing to do at this time to give up a player of that caliber for a potential,
Rental.
you know, 10 games of Skylar Diggins-Smith. It just it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I'm with you there. We'll close this out. Like, really unfortunate, like the way that this is playing out. Hopefully, Styler's doing well. We will move to the brighter note of what's gone on recently with the Phoenix Mercury, and that's Diana Taurasi going into Thursday night needing 18 points. And what were your expectations before the game? Because safe to say she outdid them.
You know, it was hard for me to. I didn't really have any expectations, but it was hard for me to not think that she would do it.
Yeah.
Like she's just been on. The thing about Diana is that at the beginning of the season there were some performances where it was rough. Like it looked like it might be time to call it quits. she's come back after missing 3 games. She's playing on a broken toe, and she has had 4 consecutive amazing games. Um, and so it was hard to not think that she would do it. And especially as the game went on, it was like, okay, she's scoring well tonight. And then she passed it or hit 10,000 even with 8:24 on the clock in the third quarter. And then so it was like, okay, now what's she gonna do? And she just kept scoring and kept scoring and kept scoring and did vintage Diana moments like threes that I haven't seen her make this season. It was just it was a magical performance by Diana on Thursday. Um, it was one of those where it's like you're lucky to be there to witness it. You're lucky that she's still playing and you're still
Mhm.
able to witness these moments because this is my first year covering the team. She could have easily retired, so it was it was nice. It's nice that she's not retired for my sake because I've grown up watching Diana Taurasi play basketball,
Yeah.
um, and I wanted to watch Diana Taurasi play basketball while I and cover her. So it was cool to see that, and just the way that she made the 10,000 point too. It wasn't just like a layup or some free throws or something. It was a deep three with a hand in her face, coming down after making another three the last possession. It was incredible. And another funny and cool moment from the night is that Mariah Jefferson before the game said that she wanted to get the assist on Diana's 10,000, and then she got the assist on Diana's 10,000. So that was even a cool, another cool anecdote from the game. And then obviously, she was really close with Kobe, and to hit it with 8:24 in the third quarter is just, that was really cool as well. And then there were live goats there. It was fun. It was fun. It was a fun night. Um, it was unfortunate that the Skylar stuff had happened earlier in the day, but um, it was still just incredible to just watch her do what she did at her age. And I'm glad she's still playing.
That's really really cool, and like a great perspective that you brought to it, with just like your first year covering the Mercury, you wanted to see Diana Taurasi play, and not only that, but then to go have this magical moment, that was just astonishing. I asked about your expectations. You thought it would happen. Apparently, so did the Phoenix Mercury with those congratulations Diana towels. That felt like a bold move, but more than paid off, like you mentioned, with how it happened, hitting 10,000 right on the dot like that, and I mean, just so cool. Did you want to touch on that kind of bold call to put the towels out?
Yeah, it was they were posters.
Posters,
Um,
okay, my bad.
yeah, there were posters and the goats and everything. That was it was a lot. Like it was a lot of pressure. But if anyone's gonna just not fold under that type of pressure, it's gonna be Diana Taurasi.
Heck yeah.
And you know, Nikki Blue talked about it post game. She's like said something along the lines of, dang, that's a lot of pressure. And she went out there and handled that incredibly well. Just was not phased by the fact that they basically were like, okay, you're going to score 18 points tonight, and
Yeah.
yeah, she didn't fold under that, and doubled the score and more.
Yeah, that 42 points, oldest player to ever outscore, uh, oldest player to outscore her age in a game, 41-year-old scoring 42. You touched on all the cool little stats there, but yeah, that just so cool. Like you said, unfortunate, with the Skylar Diggins-Smith scenario, but I think I saw a tweet that was like, Skylar Diggins-Smith and her comments, allegations against the Mercury, important. It's meant to be taken seriously, but at the same time, Diana Taurasi, 10,000 career points, the first in WNBA history ever, important and to be taken seriously. And I think we've done that here, but yeah, just to
Yeah, for sure.
finish up on DT, just so cool. Some incredible theater, incredible performance, and just like what does this say about her, the player? Because we talked a lot about this night, but 10,000 buckets, like that is a lot of sacrifice and determination, and one of the greatest players of all time.
Yeah. What it says about her is what you can check out my article on the next
Yes.
about this about just basically what I was kind of the consensus to the people that I talked to in that article is that Diana is a competitor. She loves the game, and so
Mm.
all of those things have led to her reaching this 10,000 point mark because, again, she could have retired a while ago. She has nothing more to accomplish. She's got 3 championships, 5 gold medals, everything that she did at UConn. She's passed the all time scoring mark a long time ago. She made another finals appearance again at 39 years old in 2021. But yeah, she doesn't have to keep playing, but she loves the game and loves competing. And, I think it's a testament to just, do what you love until you can't do it anymore.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
DT. I like obvious question from there is who is most likely to ever break that record? Anyone in the league now? That
Stewie.
Stewie. Yeah, Stewie and Asia are the two that make the most sense. I think.
Yeah. Stewie's so good. I think that we could see her reach it. Depends on how long she plays, though. I mean, she's got to play like a lot more. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody will ever break it, but I would vote Stewie if I'm going to vote for anyone.
Yeah, we're getting some more games in the WNBA season. Hopefully, we obviously them did a lot more basketball played, so there's that. But just DT. I mean, and you saw her quote too as well about anyone ever going to break it, and she said like this record's for everybody in the W. It was a really wholesome answer. Is what I saw, and then it was like hey, but this is my record, and DT, gotta love that competitive spirit. And the awesome thing too, it came in a win, like you said. So, any other thing you wanted to point out with just an awesome performance? 42 points for.
I mean, no, I mean, yeah, I think I covered it, or we covered it. Yeah.
All right, so we'll get to the win part of that because I mean that's a big deal for a team that after last night, as at time of recording, is in last place, 4.5 games back of a playoff spot. They lost to Seattle, but they did get that win over the Dream. So kind of, what's the goal for the team this season from this point on out? Is it draft positioning or is it hey, do we want to try and make a push? What do you think?
Don't tell Diana Taurasi about draft position or that they're tanking or whatever, because I don't think that she thinks that. But I mean, I think they'll be. I think that just getting better
Yeah.
is kind of what they need to focus on at this point. Like, it seems like they'll be turning a corner, and then they'll have a really bad game where they get, you know, blown out, or the energy isn't there for the entire 40 minutes. Usually happens on the road. And then they've had a couple games recently where they've lost close ones by 1 point. On Tuesday against Indiana, 6 points. Yesterday against Seattle. So, yeah, they've had a couple of games where it's like they could have really used those wins. So, looking at the standings now 4.5 games back, it's going to take them finally getting onto one of the runs and actually
Yeah.
like string together wins. And I'm just not sure that they're going to be able to do that this year. Like again, they'll have these one-off performances where Diana has 42 points. They've got good players. It just hasn't come together on a consistent basis. And so many turnovers has been such an issue this year. Rebounding, which is surprising with the players that they have, with BG, Brianna Turner, Megan Gustafson, like those are good rebounders in this league. And for some reason, they've just not been a good rebounding team this year. And
Mm.
then you look at some of their role players, Sophie Cunningham, she struggled a bit this year to really find her groove. So it's just kind of been an up and down season. And I just don't think that I don't know if they have enough time to really gain ground and finally get on that roll.
No, that's very fair. I like you looked at Phoenix as a team over the last few seasons who like can have that second half like arrival, and they just seem like maybe a little bit too far gone. I mean, you think about the 2021 in the finals when it was the fifth and the sixth seed, so really they came on late. But yeah, it might be a little too far down. I think that's fair. So let's touch on a few players then. As you mentioned, they do have some good players. And we'll start at the very top with Brittany Griner, who did not play in the win against Atlanta. Came back after a few games missed against Seattle in the loss, but missed a few games, citing her mental health, which, like, first and foremost, like hard to imagine what she's been through. Totally okay for her to have this time. Important for her to have this time. Um, but Jesse, yeah, just BG, her season as a whole to this point. How has she been?
I mean, BG's been incredible this year, coming off of what she went through last
The
year. Like,
unimaginable.
you, yeah, her numbers are a little bit down from uh, the last year that she played in the league in 2021, but like, to be able to come back and give 19-7 pretty much um, is just it's incredible. And I don't think that it's fair to really analyze her game and her weaknesses at this point, just because everything that she's done has just been great to see
Mm.
and incredible, and her making the All-Star game, well deserved uh, there. And so, yeah, I mean, she took some time away for mental health. And again, I don't really think that even had that big of an impact on the team as far as winning games on the floor. Like, um, she's a huge part of the team, but they still had a close game and um, against Indiana, and it seems like it's a team collective thing. It's not like, oh, they were missing BG this game, so that's why they struggled. It just it seems like when they plug or play anybody really. Now there's been some games where it's like DT BG out, so yeah, that's been a noticeable factor. But if they have at least half of their stars or most of their players, nothing has really changed from game to game. So I wouldn't really say that has anything to do with how they fared in those games. And then when she came back yesterday, huge presence. Totally noticed how much she was helping the team on the floor. So yeah, again, it's not something that I think that is fair to really analyze at this point, just with everything that she's been through.
Yeah, that's very fair. The other player I wanted to touch on was Shea Petty, who you mentioned off the bat. Really scary injury, like you said. Are there any updates on her? How's she been? Because she's also coming back from a torn Achilles.
Yeah, she's played really well recently, but last night was obviously scary. Good thing is that it was just a concussion. Obviously, you don't want to see concussions, but that it's better than what it could
Yes.
have been. So she's been discharged from the hospital. She's home. Everything seems to be going, well, I don't know when she'll make a return or whatever, or if she will return this year. It was a pretty big blow to, but we've seen players get, stretchered off and stuff in sports and come back relatively soon due to concussions and stuff. But it was a very scary, moment for sure. And she's just a really nice person. And so you hate to see that kind of stuff happen to someone that is really nice, really kind with the media.
Yeah.
Always treats you well, treats you with respect. And you totally hated to see that last night. It was awful.
Yeah, it was like I was watching that game, just sitting around, and was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like we have been sitting here for a long time. I'm happy to hear that discharged from the hospital, doing better. But we'll move on there from a little bit of injury news. At full strength, though, and Jesse, I think this is kind of an important part of getting better over the last 13 games of the season. Not only getting better, but I think finding the right lineups could be helpful to this team. Who is the starting five at full strength for this team, in your opinion?
In my opinion,
Yeah.
well, I would change things up if I was the coach here. If I was the head coach of the Phoenix Mercury, I would be putting BG at center, Megan Gustafson at power forward,
Oh, okay.
because she provides a really good offensive presence that Brianna Turner doesn't always provide. And she can step out there and shoot the three, which they need to make threes. That's important. This team is. There's been games where they've really struggled from three. Yesterday was one of them. Um, and I think that her being out there is good. I think she works well with BG. I've
Excuse me.
seen you're good. I've seen them work well together on the floor at the same time, as I've seen with BG and Turner. But I just feel like the the extra offensive abilities from Megan outweigh what. And I'm a defense first person. Like, I think that defense wins championships for sure. But they've got to figure out how to. They're not a good defensive team. They just got to figure out how to outscore their opponents, and I
Yeah.
think that would work. And then um,
You've got a lot of
Turner,
good players after that.
yeah, I want to, I don't want to see Brianna Turner not play a lot. Like, I think her energy, her defense, what she does is important. So, insert her as a spark, Michaela Onyenwere as a spark, Shug Sutton as a spark. I would keep Sophie Cunningham in the starting lineup as much as she struggled this year. Um, Diana, obviously, and Mariah Jefferson, I think, is the right player to go with. Again, they've started Shug in some games, and that was mostly when Nygaard was the head coach. And
Yeah.
Shug is just so much better as a spark off the bench because she just comes in again, energy player off the bench. So I think I would I would leave Mariah in the starting lineup. She's more of a kind of your traditional point guard, where I feel like Shug she's a great passer, but she kind of is more of a slasher, wants to get her shot, that kind of player, where she's better in that role where she comes off the bench to to provide a scoring spark for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, lastly, there on that point guard spot, I've been curious about Mariah Jefferson, her first season in Phoenix, as well as, like you said, Shug Sutton, I think I was surprised by stepping into this year and has really been a fun piece for this Phoenix team. But yeah, that lastly here, before we get you out of here, Jesse, that point guard spot, what are your thoughts on it as a whole?
I mean, it would be really nice if they had Skylar Diggins-Smith playing point guard for them. Um, that would probably be the solution here. But Shook's done a good job. Mariah's done a good job, but at times they've both also been up and down this season because they're good players, but they're not all WNBA players.
Yeah,
So you're gonna get what you're gonna get off games from them. So yeah, I mean, I think that it's a position of need in the offseason. They need
They need a point guard, probably like a top of the line point guard for sure.
Hey, yeah, that's fair, I'd say.
I
Jesse.
think real quick, and I think sometimes when Diana runs the point, that's when they are having some of their most success.
All right, yeah, yeah. I think
He's being a facilitator, and that.
Even when like Skylar Diggins-Smith was in that lineup, you could see DT run a lot more point, have Skylar run an off ball. So I think that's a very good point to point out too. Jesse. It's a bummer that we couldn't get to a little bit more basketball talk just because of everything that's gone on. We hope Skylar Diggins-Smith is okay. Diana Taurasi, congrats on 10,000 career points, incredible. And Jesse, thank you so much for joining the show here. Where can people go and find your most recent article and all your work?
thenexthoops.com, at the next on Twitter. If you want to follow my other stuff, got my Arizona State podcast. We talked a lot about just general Pac-12, Big 12 stuff this week. So, even if you're not an Arizona State person, it might be something to check out. That's at AZ Sports Devils on Twitter, and then wherever you get your podcasts, State of the Sun Devils. So yeah, if you just want to check out both of those things, I have a couple articles that I've published in the past 2 days on the Next. So if you want to check out both of those, please do.
Yeah, Jesse, I hope you get a little bit less busy here in the weeks moving forward. Hopefully not everything's this crazy, and we appreciate all the work you do covering the W. Thank you so much for joining the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, make sure to follow and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Make sure to follow on Twitter and Instagram at APBShow, and follow me at the Willett22. Thank you so much for tuning in for a pro basketball show. I am Andrew Willett.